Hello, fifth graders. Today is March 15th, but we need to take a look at the calendar grid markers for over the weekend so that we can update those too, and that will help us with today's marker. But before we do that, let's take a look at last week, a couple of last week markers that started this week's pattern. So here's the first one where it was 126 times 304 and we got 38,304. Now when we went to day 12, which that was on Friday, we had 126 times 30 and 4/10. Notice, same digits here, but now there's a decimal here. So all we had to do is take 304, divide it by 10. So if we divide by 10, remember everything moves one place value to the right, and it looks like the decimal kind of jumps over to the left, and now we have 30 and 4/10. And we know that when we divide one of our factors by 10, then we need to divide our answer by 10. So we took 38,304, divide that by 10 to just move everything over one place value to the right, and we get 3,830 and 4/10. Notice, same digits as the previous answer, just everything's in a different place value. Okay, so let's take a look at Saturday. So since we didn't get to do Saturday, and this one is 12 and 6/10 times 304. So I want you to do is first estimate, think about what this answer should be, close to anyways, and pause the video and think about what is a good estimate for this one, and then we'll come back and share. All right, so hopefully you're done estimating. For me, I'm going to take 12 and 6/10. To make it easier, I'm going to do 10. So I'm going to say that's about 10. And then 304 is, well, I'm going to leave it as 304 because when I multiply it by 10, really that's not too difficult because I just have to add a 0 to the end. But remember, what we're really doing is moving everything over one place value to the left. So my answer should be around 3,040. That's definitely going to help me when I'm solving this one. Now, hopefully you've recognized our pattern by now, but if not, that's okay. Let's just take a look at what we have here. So I noticed that 126, I'm going to look at this one right here, and 12 and 6/10. To go from here to here, I need to divide by 10, right? And to go from 304 to 304, I don't need to change anything. So I've only taken one factor and divided it by 10. And so since I've only done that once, that's all I have to do to the answer here is divide it by 10. So now if I do that, I'm going to write, what I like to do is just write all the digits down. So 3, 8, without the comma, 3, 0, and 4. And then sometimes I like to put a decimal here and then just move the decimal over to the left. And that actually moves all the numbers to the right. If you just move the decimal to the left one, all the other numbers move to the right one. So now I have 3,830 and 4/10, which if you've noticed last week's pattern, that happened as well last week. We ended up with two that were the same. Different numbers here, right? These are different numbers, but the answer was the same because this one, all we did was divide by 10 with one of our factors, and we did the same thing on this one, divide by 10 with one of the factors. And our estimate was 3,040, which is off a little bit, but at least we're in the 3,000 range, so that's good. All right, let me clear this, and we'll take a look at Sunday's marker. Okay, so here we have Sunday's marker, and I went ahead and wrote day 11, day 12, day 13, the answers up here, because that helps me when I'm solving this problem. Now, first, we're going to estimate, so pause the video. This is 12 and 6/10 times 3 and 4/100. And I want you to think about what would be a reasonable estimate. So pause the video, figure that out, and we'll come back and share. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of different rounding. It's okay if you turn this into 10, but I'm going to actually turn this one into 13 this time because I noticed that it'll be easier for me to multiply since these aren't as large of numbers. I'm going to do 13 times 3. And this would be 30 9, right? 10 3 times is 30, 3 times 3 is 9, 39. You could have done 10 times 3, and that's 30, but I think this one's going to be closer to our answer. All right, now I want you to pause the video and see if you can find the actual answer to this, and I want you to take very careful note of the place value. What am I dividing by? How can I go from these numbers to these numbers? Or you can use these up here. So go ahead and pause the video, figure that out, and then come back and we'll go over it. All right, hopefully you figured it out, or you've tried to. I'm gonna go ahead and start at my top number here, because I do this a lot. When I have decimals, I take the decimals out, and then I just solve the whole numbers, and then put the decimals back. And that's a handy trick that you can use. So 126 times 304. Well, how did I go from 126 to 12 and 6/10? I know that if there was a decimal here, I just had to move it over one spot. So I must have divided it by 10. Now, how do I get from 304 to 3 4/100? If I have a decimal here, right, that's where the decimal would be if I had one. I didn't just move it one place, because that's 30 4/10. I had to move it two places to get 3 4/100. So instead of dividing by 10, I had to divide by 100 to move it two places over. Now think about this. And this makes sense. I divide by 10 here, I divided by 100 here. So together, how many times did I divide? By 10. I divided by 10 3 times. So I need to move the answer needs to be moved over, the place value needs to be moved over 3 times, right? So we're going to move everything over 3 place values to the right. So I'm going to write my digits down. 3, 8, 3, 0, 4. Like I said, sometimes it's helpful to just put a decimal here and then move that decimal 3 places over. 1, 2, 3. And look at what my answer is. And I'm going to erase this other one that I have here. 38 304 thousandths, and my estimate was 39. So that's pretty close. So again, just looking at what am I dividing by? How many times was that dividing by 10? That was once, this was twice. So I need to move it over a total of 3 place values to, everything's moving over to the right 3 place values. And the decimal goes to the left as you move over to the right. And another handy trick is to look at how many numbers. Look, this is 1 number behind the decimal, and this is 2, and altogether that would be 3 numbers behind the decimal. So that's another handy trick. All right, I'm gonna erase this, and then we have just one more marker. That's today's marker to go over. All right, day 15. And remember, the reason why this one is not on the grid is because it is so tiny compared to the other ones. It would be very hard to see. Even this one is tiny. That's why they zoomed in. It's even smaller than this one. And remember, this day 14 was 38. So it's got to be smaller than 38. So let's first estimate. Let me write this. 3 4/100 times 1 26/100. Okay, estimate. So go ahead and pause the video, estimate, and then we'll come back and see if we get the same estimate or close to it. All right, so if I were to estimate this, I might do 3 times, and then you could do 1 3/10 or just 1. I'm gonna do 1 3/10 just because I know I can do that pretty easily. 3 times 1 is 3, and if I had 3/10 3 times, that's 9/10. So this should be close to 3 9/10. So that's what I'm hoping my answer is really close to. So now instead of multiplying these, I can actually use what we've already done to help me solve this one. All right, so I'm going to, they kind of make it difficult because this one's over here and this one's here. So I'm just going to go like this. How do I go from here to here? Well, let's put a decimal here and see how many times does it take. How many times does it have to jump over to get here? So it would be 1, 2, right? It's at 1 26/100. So what did I have to do? If I jump 2 place values over, we divide by 100. Okay, now I'm gonna go from 304 to 3 4/100ths. Put my decimal here. How many times does it need to move over? 1, 2. So again, I'm dividing by 100. Count how many times I had to move over. 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess what I'm gonna have to do to my answer? I'm gonna take the same digits and move them over 4 place values. So I'm gonna put my decimal here for now. I'm gonna move it over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm gonna erase the decimal that I put here. And I get 3. Now listen to this one. This is 3 and 8,304 10,000ths now. So that's what that one, how we would say that one. And is it close to my estimate? It's very close. So 3 9/10 was my estimate, and my answer was 3 and 8,304 10,000ths. All right, that is it for today's calendar grid. Tomorrow we'll be looking at a new set of rectangles.